now? Zarin?
Yes, ma'am, it has started, ma'am.
Okay, sure. So, in the last class, we had discussed in the point about the different aspects of the Indus Valley civilization, and we're just beginning as to why this particular nomenclature and what is it, how is it related to the entire question of whether there was an Aryan invasion. Because this concept that in the ancient times somebody came, some people who were not the indigenous people of the Indian subcontinent, they came over here and they helped us to civilize. This was the concept that was taught to us, to also to in a way to justify that, you know, it's like it's a white man's burden, or a person who's of fairer skin, white skinned people. They came in about 4,000 years back, settled in this region and started a civilization. So when the Indus Valley civilization, when it was discovered that such a settlement exists, which is basically, clashing with this theory of people coming over and civilizing people, or whatever is our, say, our knowledge, our ancient knowledge, that has all been given to us, that was not indigenously developed. So this idea was always put forward. When Indus Valley civilization was discovered, and by the way, it was discovered while railway lines were being laid out, and such discoveries of ancient settlements, through accident has happened. Accident as in people were going to, digging for either laying of railway lines, and then suddenly they come across such, bricks underneath these mounds, and they initially use the bricks to lay the railway lines, to actually, put those lines. And then after that, people came in and they found that, yes, this site is pretty old, and by the way, by looking at the settlement itself, they could understand that it is part of an ancient civilization, not a general settlement, but a civilization. So then it was told that, yes, Indus Valley civilization certainly did exist, and its timeline is also, not a debatable topic, because we had experts who could find out the time, find out that time of the civilization. So what must have happened is there was an indigenous civilization, and they were overrun or by this Aryans, by the Aryans who came from the northwest, and then again started the Vedic settlement, which again is the which we are almost living in continuation with the same, and we are containing, and our lives are still maintained by those old treaties some way or the other. So, however, recent discoveries are through by application of technology, and as well as by linking our Shruti through the Vedas, as it has been mentioned in the Vedas, we could make several connections about why this theory is highly questionable. The theory of Aryan invasion. There was no invasion, first of all. So I think Professor Joy Shane has already mentioned it in his previous classes, that why very suddenly when they initially started digging, they found out the remains. So very few human remains, possibly two. And from that, automatically they came to a conclusion that this is evidence that this place was overrun and there was a conflict, and thereby this settlement declined, and it then gave rise to the Aryans then settled and formed the Vedic civilization, or Vedic settlement was begun as a new culture. So recently, by continuous efforts of several Indologists, the people who love the the culture of India, they are present all over the world. So through their efforts, sustained efforts throughout the ages, a lot has been discovered. Primarily, so paleo-channel mapping has proven the existence of a wide and long river between Yamuna and Shatudru, as we call in Bengali. So Yamuna and Satluj has been found. This river is thought to be the one of the seven major rivers as mentioned in our Veda, which is the Saraswati river. So the Saraswati river, if we look into the presence of the sites of Indus Valley settlement, we will find that they are evenly, they are located on both sides of the Saraswati river, which is more logical, because otherwise location of of these sites only on one side of the Indus river doesn't make much sense. So the Saraswati river started from the Ghaggar-Hakra part, or started from the Himalayas, and they flew into the run of Kutch. So one of the two of the major tributaries of the Saraswati river was Yamuna and Satluj. And so these two rivers, because of you can say almost 3 or 4 primary factors, the Saraswati river stopped flowing, or its flow declined. And with the decline of the lifeblood of the Indus Valley civilization, which we can call as Saraswati civilization, the people were forced to leave the sites and migrate elsewhere. Now the migration again at that time was not very easy because of the dense forest areas that existed on the eastern side of this area of the Saraswati river basin. And it has been found out that there is linkages of the Indus Valley civilization or the Saraswati civilization with the Dravidian culture in South India, as well as other settlements found all over India. So there are certain linkages. I think this was also mentioned in last class. So through what factors, or what actually caused this sudden change or migration? So we have found out about 3 reasons. One of them is the presence of the Thar desert. Now, desert position, it changes over time. So the Thar desert has basically migrated to the northeast by, so you can say approximately 15 kilometers in the last 100 years or so. So similarly, it has definitely shifted. So one of this shift caused the river bed, obviously caused difficulty in having continuous habitation along these areas. That is one reason. The second reason is you can say earthquake and earthquake related shifts in the river bed, the flow of rivers. So these are against the paleo channels as recognized in the Ghagra rivers or that area, and done by these studies are again corroborated by several. So there has been several studies which have said that yes, this river does exist or did exist. So yes, any question or anything you want to say? Anything?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
ma'am. According to the map you shown, the Saraswati River is flowing in the west side, but people say that these three rivers flow through the Allahabad region, like Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. These three. So which is true? Like,
I'm coming to it. Wait. So roughly you can say that in Indian mythology we have a a very good link as how explanation as how river Ganga came on earth. So it's mythology. If you look at it as a story, but what it primarily you can interpret it in this way, that till a certain time Ganga river was chanchala, or as you can say, that very her flow or her river bed or was not very stable. So a lot of floods may have happened. So in this way, the river, when a river is can be depicted as chanchala, that means one way of interpretation is that its bed was not very stable. And roughly about 4,000 years ago, there was a massive earthquake due to which the particularly in Kashi, the western or the southern plateau, southern bank of the Kashi, that went up as a rift valley. So it went up, and thereby the flow path of Ganga river became almost stable. So that was the mythology that Chanchala, a very a truant the allegory is that with a truant girl who is suddenly made to sit in a serene manner. So in that way, similarly, the river which used to flow in a not in a very stable manner suddenly flows in a very stable bed because of an earthquake. Similarly, such earthquakes have caused shift in river paths, and there was such a massive earthquake, roughly about, you can say, 1,800 1,900 BCE, through which the two main tributaries of the river Saraswati, they changed their paths. So if you want, you can actually go and find out several papers on this very topic about how this change has happened. Through paleo channel, it is certainly proved that yes, Yamuna river was a tributary of the Saraswati river at one point in time, and then it shifted and then it joined the river Ganga. So similarly, the Rishabhati and Satluj and or Shatudra also, it also shifted to the northeastward and flew into the Indus. So when such two primary tributaries stopped flowing, so automatically the cumulative impact left the river Saraswati as unnavigable in some areas. And gradually, with rising temperature, the people were forced to leave the site. That is why suddenly, after immediately the peak of the Indus Valley civilization, we find that there is a rapid decline. And from that rapid decline to the beginning of, say, the Vedic settlements or the 16 Mahajanapad, we do not have, or there are a lot of, theories as to what must have happened, how this shift would have happened, and now we are trying to bridge this gap with the help of with the help of technology, as well as with the help of technology as in archaeoastronomy. And definitely we are continuing, further archaeological sites are being dug up so that we are gaining more knowledge about what must have happened about this sudden decline. So this is a paper by I think Professor Gupta from IIT Kharagpur only in 1993 or 95. It is, you can check that in the reference I've included. So this is regarding the rainwater harvesting response and climate fluctuations that happened throughout, say, our settlement almost from Indus Valley civilization till about, the very recent one in about 1870 or 1890, which caused a massive, I'm forgetting the time, forgetting the term. So massive food shortage also happened because of scanty rainfall received. So the weakening of the monsoon or the southwest monsoon was observed, starting almost from about 4500 BCE. So 6500 years ago, we could find that the monsoon had started to weaken. Now the exact climate over the Indian subcontinent, as well as Central East Asia and Central Asia, was very different. So if you actually see that continuously, you can find out that people had started rainwater harvesting along with, while they were dependent on the primary river. Their primary source of water was river water, but as it was behaving in an unpredictable manner because of less yield over the time, they had to adopt to rainwater harvesting techniques. And there was migration of people from early settlements to, say, Rajasthan, Ganga Plain, and intensification of earthwork was also seen across the northwestern states of India. You can see. So this particular, you can delve deeper into it, that what was the different types of water harvesting techniques that was followed through. This is one that can help you understand that during particular one time, if the main tributaries shift, and if the monsoon also weakens, and the combined impact is even further as to, habitation is no longer possible at those areas. So you can see that detail. Furthermore, I will show you the, a blow-up diagram of this part. So this is the post-glacial sea level rise that had happened, and this, this conjecture is about sea level change, and how with that the Indian subcontinent, the settlements in the Indian subcontinent did change, added with the migration of people that has happened over the years, makes for very interesting studies and theories, which you can find out over the net if you are interested in that. So this is the sea level change that I mentioned, that suddenly you can see between 4,000, almost 3,000 years ago, there was a sudden drop in the sea level. So what caused this sudden drop? We can surmise it. And so roughly around this time only, you can see that this is almost combining, it's at least related to the change or in the monsoon during the for the Saraswati River civilization. So then we can come to the Vedic architecture, or I will actually stop at this point, and then I will start with the small parts or discussions on Vastu Vidya. Okay. So before going into Vedic architecture, so I think it was also discussed by Professor Bhattacharya in the last class. So we can continue with this but later. So initially we'll start with the main treatise on Vastu. So any questions on the Indus Valley civilization till this time?
Ma'am, I have a general question. Like,
Okay.
so we were discussing that Indus Valley civilization was 3,500 years ago, something, right?
That was actually, it was earlier because Mehergarh settlements is about 5,500 BCE, so almost 7,500 years back.
Okay, so decline was around 3,500 years ago.
Decline was about from 1900 BCE to say 1700. From 1900 BC decline happened, then at 1500 BC there was a sudden decline. Gradual decline started from 1900 BC.
Okay, okay, thanks.
So also, thank you, Professor Sen. So you can all check again the literature available. So that would be helpful. Now, I think in the last class also one question was asked regarding the waterproofing that was done. So it was basically the waterproofing was done, but yes.
Ma'am, I just wanted to add a point that recently Dholavira has been recognized by the UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. I just wanted to add this point.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yes, and I will be adding actually 2 more articles or documents which is related to Dholavira as well as related to this study which I think Anshul mentioned or Soham mentioned. That is regarding the DNA extraction that happened to find link between the Indus Valley people as well as the indigenous population of India. So there it is mentioned the population as linked with the South Asian population. So I will include that. You can go through it. It is pretty interesting. And okay. So the waterproofing was mainly done through bitumen. I had mentioned tar, but I mean bitumen and tar are often used almost as a similar meaning thing. But bitumen is naturally occurring, and there is a thing that people in IVC bitumen was acquired through from Mesopotamia or Sumeria. And yes, thank you, Professor Sen. I think we had mentioned it earlier that Dholavira and Lothal, as per their adjacency with, say, the Kutch area, as well as the settlement which was discovered underwater related to Dwarka. So you can again check the work by Professor Dr. Best, Archaeological Survey of India. And sir, you can please share a few words on this. I think the students will be extremely interested.
I don't like to say anything here. It's going wonderful. I'll just remain in the background and keep on adding some footnotes to your main text. Yeah, you carry on. You carry on. Yeah. The only thing that Professor Banerjee that I like to add is that because the Greater Indus Valley is a wonderful thing to be conjectured upon, and because if you look at the 6 or the 7 tributaries of Indus, they are all originating in the Shivaliks, close to Shimla and Kulu and Manali. So they are all Shivalik rivers, and the entire system of settlement is from the Himalayas towards the Karakoram, not otherwise. And the second point is that Indus itself or himself, because Indus in the Indian mythology is supposed to be a male river compared to Ganga, who is a female river, because he originates from behind the Himalayas, from the glaciers of Mount Kailash, which is glacier of Raka and Manushya river. So the 2 rivers, Indus and Brahmaputra, originate from upper central India in Tibet. So essentially the Indus Valley civilization is a eastern, west eastern Himalayan civilization. The normal way it is portrayed in archaeological texts and mostly in our older colonial history books, that it is a westbound civilization, is perhaps not true, because the entire settlement and what Professor Banerjee was wonderfully showing about the Saraswati River, whether it was the Saraswati River or whether it was not the Saraswati River, that's secondary, but definitely a channel, as someone said in the class also very nicely, a channel from the Indo-Gangetic Valley, from the origins of Ganga and Yamuna, from Gomukh and others, has been found to be connected with the Indus Valley civilization, which makes Indus Valley civilization more of a central Indian to West Indian kind of an expanse of civilization. So this is a point which is to be noted. Thank you. I'll stop here. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Sen. And so any other query that was, I think, started in last class? We will continue with that at the end of this class. So I will be just sharing my slides on Vastu Vidya. Can you see the slide?
This is a wonderful slide. I love this. Please carry on, Professor Banerjee.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is more, we will be delving more into the fundamentals of Sthapatya Vastu Vidya. So Vastu, as Professor Sen has mentioned in the earlier classes, Vastu is derived from Vasati, or from the root. The root is Vas, that is to habitate, to remain or to dwell in a place. So that is Vastu, and Vidya is definitely to understand, to discover and to experience. So Sthapatya Vastu Vidya is related to the utilization, to the planning and the experience or spatial experience, while related to the two-dimensional planning of a settlement, the planning of a building, to the planning of a plot, requiring of a plot. So Vastu can be, or it can be described or divided into, you can say, three parts or three categories. The first category is Bhumi. Bhumi is the plot. So Bhumi is earth on which we stand. From there, we are coming to Harmadi Vastu. So that is related to the buildings, which or the balance between the built space and the unbuilt space, so that there is a harmony or a balance between the built and the unbuilt. All is related to human habitation, and thereby with whether how it should be built, what should be the dimensions, what should be the measurements. So this is again a core part of Vastu Vidya. And then we are coming to the another, you can say, part of Vastu Vidya, but which is say not fixed. So the built space is fixed in its location, but however there are other spaces, or you can say other commodities which are used by people, which is also needs designing, such as we say Jan or Yan, as in modes of communication or vehicles, and also the furnitures. So one part is Yan, and other part is Shayon, or furnitures where we rest, essentially. So that is the part of the Paryankadi Vastu. So in here, we will be primarily looking at the way spatial planning is done, and how later, if we have time, we will be exploring how the building planning is done in details. So the fundamental concepts of Vastu. So Vastu is, you can say, a holistic approach for dealing with space and also for dealing with all commodities or all items that is to be used by human. So used for human habitation or used for human usage, such as including planning, designing, constructing and decorating of all the items that is to be used by human. So there are different scales of settlement that we will be explaining in the later slides. And along with that, we are also looking at who are the people who's involved, say with this, involved mainly in Vastu planning or Vastu designing. So they are the Shilpi or the Shilpins who are related or who delve into the various aspects of creation of built space as well as other items. So the classification of Shilpin, it's say at the very top we have the Sthapati or the architect or the master builder. So underneath the Sthapati we have Sutragrahi. The Sutragrahi is like an apprentice or disciple of the Sthapati. The present context comparison can be with that of a site supervisor or a site manager. So they are essentially a disciple of this Sthapati, and they will be taking care of the entirety of construction. Now, over the times, after gaining a lot experience and also after acquiring knowledges related to the various theories which is included, which is needed for construction, a Sutragrahi can call himself or can rise to the position of the Sthapati. So there has to be a very good a Sthapati must have. Hello, what happened? Okay. So a Sthapati has to have all-around knowledge about construction, about materials, about geometry. Please mute yourselves. If you have to ask a question, then you can ask the questions directly. So underneath the Sutragrahi, we have the craftsman, the Vardhaka and the Takshaka. Now, these are, Vastu as a field. It involves the craftsman belonging to, again, the different, you can say the different types of working on different materials. So primarily, say the Shilpins who used to work with wood and with stone, or you can say it is related almost to the 5 categories of materials on which people used to work, starting with say metals, particularly iron, then wood, stone, the other metals and gold. So from these crafts, namely the 2 crafts that is used mostly in building construction is our Sthapatya, is the stone and wood. And both the Vardhaka and the Takshaka, they are involved with, or they work with stone and with wood. The Vardhaka's work is to basically subdivide larger objects so that it is workable. So he works in a, you can say, negative, he works by subtracting some parts from the main part. Say from the log, he will take a log and he will be creating the primary, he will be creating the primary piece of wood on which the Takshaka can work, or the on the parts which the Takshaka can assemble. So the Takshaka's way of working is additive. The Vardhaka's way of working is subtractive. So together they create under the supervision of the Sutrakari, and who will be giving the instructions based on the original plan of the Sthapatya. So from there, so these are the various, you can say, source documents from which Vastu Vidya has evolved over time. So we find the mention of Sthapatya Veda, which was an annexure of the Atharva Veda related, and which included the various texts related to mathematics, geometry, graphical arts, structural engineering, astronomy. And the list that is included here is not all inclusive. However, so these are, you can say, the more elaborate texts have been included related to Vastu Vidya. For example, Brihad Samhita and Matsya Puran. But further, the two resources which are used extensively over India for treatise or the basic tenets of Vastu Vidya are the Mayamot and the Manasa. So, moving ahead. So, how do we find out, or how do we build? What is the starting point? So, essentially, in order to build or construct anything, we need to measure first, and thereby the importance of the dimensional system. This dimensional system is related with the measure of the human body, or anthropometrics as it is called. Now, in the Indus Valley civilization, excuse me. Sorry, I had to take that call. So now on the dimensional system, as in thought. So in Indus Valley civilization, we had seen the level of standardization that was utilized. Now in Vastu Vidya also, there is a standardization was imposed so that people for proper construction as well as for standardization is required at various levels. So this standardization was done essentially from, of course, the size of human body, but as well as by employing one of the natural grains, one of the 9 grains that was produced in that times, and which is the job. So that is the measure of job or peel also. These 2 grains are used to delineate the being, the dimensions at the macro level, and from this macro level again, the higher scales of measurement has been developed. So within this measurements, or within this different scales of measurement, we find that in Vastu Shastra, two measures have been given a lot of importance. The measurement of the linear measurement as well as the measurement of the perimeter or poriman or circumference. And so linear measurement as well as the measurement of the circumference or perimeter has been given extreme importance. So in here, teal or the dimension of a teal, which is again obtained by successive bisection of the one grain of jaw, and that is this 3 successive bisection means 1/8. We come to an this octal scale. We come to basically to an octal scale. So division into 8 equal divisions of the one grain of jaw gives us 1 grain of teal, which is 0.47 millimeter and is used as the micro, at the minimum dimension. This is mainly used in the case of Sthapatya Vastu Vidya. Other, even micro scales of measurement were found out, but that was not used mainly in Vastu Vidya. So we come to the dimensional system of the minimum at the micro level to, we are coming to the macro level. And in here again, the unit or the single unit related to the human body that was used is 1 angula. Here we can see that there are matrangula, you can say the median or the middle, the median measurement of 1 angula, which is say the measurement of the you can say the central part of the middle finger. So that was found equal to almost the length of 8 yav grain. So that was a reference system. If we translate it to the metric system, we will find that 1 angula was equal to 30 millimeter. Now, this measurement again is, there are two other scales which is related to the height or standard height of a human being. Now, if the if 1 angula equal to 30 millimeter scale is only utilized for a person who's little over 6 feet tall. So there were two other scales which were established, which is related to people who belong to, of a slightly lower stature. So, but essentially, the standardization was based on this measurement of 30 millimeter. Now, in the diagram that you see that is related to the anthropometrics, here we find that the human height is equal to the measurement of the span of outstretched arm. Here it is known as this span of the outstretched arm is known as Vyam, and Kaya, which is equal to the Kaya or the height of a human being from the foot to the tip of his, from the tip of the head. So this, if you can see, we can include a human figure completely within a square. And this was again given, but this measurement system was again included in the previous lectures of Professor Joyshing. So this measurement or this uniqueness or the natural scales as found in the human body was included by Vitruvius in his book of architecture. Vitruvius was an architect as well as a civil engineer in the Roman military, and he is belonging to the almost the 1st century BCE. So Vitruvius, based on Vitruvius's description of human proportions, three prominent figures who worked during the Renaissance or who contributed during the Renaissance, they were influenced by the works of Vitruvius. And we can see this same scales of measurement, but which was developed indigenously in India. But certainly the timelines of the two also you can make up from the resources. So human figure is used as a reference system for developing human habitations. So here again, the dimensional system, as you can understand, if you draw a circle having it centered in the as per the nabhi of a human figure, you can include or contain the human figure with the outstretched arm. So this again you can form it, you can contain the same human figure again within a square. So the three Renaissance or the three people who influenced Renaissance, as who were further influenced by Vitruvius, was Leon Battista Alberti, Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo. You must have heard of them through various piece of through literature, through films, etc. So you can again, you must have known about them, but whether you had known about this the system of measurement as developed in India indigenously, and how to find how the comparison or how this the scales are different in case of say India and in case of the West, you can also find out. So these are the several divisions or the further subdivisions as has been mentioned in Vastu Vidya. So kaya or height of a human being is equal to the measurement of the absolutely the span of the arms, the outstretched arms, and Vyam is equal to, if Vyam is divided into octal divisions or three successive divisions of Vyam will be giving us one pad. So one pad is basically the foot where we can rest the foot, and by this if we follow the dimensioning system or translation of 1 angula equal to 30 millimeter, then 1 pad is equal to 240 millimeter. So 240 millimeter is a standard dimension used in stairs. Not 240, we use 250 because that is again the standard, very standard dimensioning system of riser and tread. That is 240 has to be the 250 is the riser and 150 millimeter is the tread. That is again depending on the divisions or the applications of the inch or the English style of measurement and our typical which can be translated further into the Indic style of measurement. So further, you can say that this concept of mind was developed as per the 1,000 paces of 1,000 double paces of a soldier, Roman soldier, that was utilized to find out the dimension of 1 mile, which is almost equal to 1.5 kilometers, slightly over 1.5 kilometers. However, so as per its Indic knowledge system, we use 2 other measures, which is hasta. Hasta is the distance between the shoulder and the tip of the middle finger. So that is 1 hasta, and the typical measurement is say 720 millimeter. So we find such further divisions of hasta into 3 parts of into 8 parts of 3 angula or 8 parts of each parva, and we can also find the mention of vitasti, that is the division of or the bisection of one hasta gives us 2 vidasti. Now, a single pace of work, so pacing or finding out the linear measurement by methods of pacing has been used since antiquities, and in here the link is that this single pace of work is hasta. So for larger scales of measurement, we find that one danda or one hasta was also used to find out, to form this measurement, the standard scale of measurement. So hasta was used to measure, say, the dimensions of cloth or say of rope, etc. And for finding out the dimensions of a slightly larger scale, other measures were also used, which is related in this way. So we use danda. Danda is equal to 4 hasta, and rajju. So rajju is like rope. So you can find that it is. It was almost used as a this chain that we utilize for doing our surveys. So this is how rajju can be. Rajju was used. So rajju is equal to 8 danda. 1 yojana or like jojan, as we say in Bengali, so is equal to 1000 rajju, and 1 krosha is equal to 2000 danda. So 1 krosh you can find is or 1 rajju is basically the perimeter of a square having or 1 jojan is you can include it within the so if you find out about the square, so 1 danda you can include as in the perimeter of a square having 1 hasta as the dimension of one side. So there is another link with this distance and the time needed to cross a distance, and that is that 1000 danda can be covered by brisk walking 1 nadika, where 1 nadika is 1/60th of a day or 24 minutes. Utilizing that scale, we can find that you can cover 1 krosh in roughly about 48 minutes. So similarly, you can find out the other. So this was a link between the distance to be traveled and the typical pace of walking. So other smaller measurements or slight changes in measurement scale was also used. That is by including say 1 parva to a measure of a hasta, which was equal to a dhanubraha, meaning the distance of 1 arm from a shoulder to how you used to hold a bow, and other slightly other larger distances, larger scales of measurements, say vaipulya, which is hasta and including by 2 other divisions of parva. So from this dimensioning system, we move ahead to so this is again the details of the different scales of measurement that were utilized. So from the finer details where we use the measurement as per the measurement scales of yak and til, to the larger distances of yojana and rajju. So from there again, we move forward to the details of the basic elements as used in the Vastu Mandala. So another interesting point is that as per as this typical the matrangula, the measurement of the matrangula as used in or as mentioned in Vastu Vidya, so thus you can say that a slightly lesser scale of measurement, lesser scale meaning the was found in Mesopotamia as well as in the measurement scales as mentioned in ancient China. So you can find out if you're interested. You can find out different texts are there. So we are coming to next the exploration of the various elemental shapes as used in Vastu Mandala. Now here again you can find that you have seen similar figures in previous lectures, so you can make a connection. So essentially the use of circle as a very basic or elemental geometry was found interesting and was utilized within the Vastu Vidya, because it related to the celestial objects. It related to the shape of the celestial objects, and the use of pi as a dimension was calculated to the minutest degree. So the shape of circle, you can say, it is typically if you divide or if you continuously try to use higher orders, say of polygons, higher order polygons, say having 32 sides, having 36 sides, and continue, then you reach a nearest circle. So the use of triangle against circle, the use of circle is again related to the moon and to Shiva. So followed by triangle, which was utilized not very precisely because of its mystic geometry. So triangle as a part of hexagon has been utilized in some cases, and it was mostly used or found within the icons as utilized in Buddhist texts, particularly tantric rites. So from there we come to the use of square, which is again typically always used to depict area or two-dimensional space, and square has been used extensively while finding out or while describing different types of mandala that can be used to design various types of settlements. So from the square is again known as Brahma Mandala. We come to the which is known as Vishnu Mandala because of its, you can see a central figure which is related to 8 sides, or Ashtadik, how Ashtadikpal are being connected to the single Vishnu. So in that way. So followed by there have been a use of regular polygons of 12 sides, 16 sides, 32 sides, etc. And we also have combination of shapes such as square and the semicircle, which we find as as in the design of the apse. I think this was again explained by Professor Joyce in the earlier lectures. So we find the use of apse in case of the design of Chitra halls as well as in design of the earliest temple architecture of India. And this is the example where you can see the apse as found in Roman Basilica or early Roman Basilica. So you can find another combination of shape, which is the elongated circle or the Vridyartha, where you find half a square followed by 2 semicircles on either side. So that is Vridyartha. So based on we can find the combination of these elemental shapes in formation of settlements, and the basic proportions that were used while these settlements were formed is 1:2, 2:3, and 3:5. Now, can you relate these proportions to the other proportions? Have you read about it? Can you make a connection?
Ma'am, 5/3 is that golden ratio, 1.66.
Yes, we are, yes, nearing the golden mean ratio. So can you mention why it is golden, why this ratio is golden?
Sir, ma'am, it matches many with many natural places like that here and in the flowers also. So that is why.
Thank you, Rupesh. So yes, Rupesh, you have given a correct answer. So this is related. This is a golden ratio as because this is extremely related to anthropometrics or the Vitruvian man or the measurement scale as given in Vastu Vidya. So you can get a same ratio if you divide the distance between the head to the navel and from the navel to the foot. So that will again give you the same ratio. So this is the golden mean ratio. Golden because it is found in nature most extensively. And so if you look at these proportions, these are increasing in the order. These are basically taking the two successive numbers of the Fibonacci series. So one is 1, 2, 3, 5, then 8, then 11. So if you find out these successive measures of ratios, then they lead us to the golden mean ratio. And golden mean ratio is again, it is extensively found in nature, and they provide us with lot of scope and ample so that we can utilize it properly. So, however, so these ratios were extensively used in Vastu Vidya also, along with but some other dimension or another ratio is also or has been found to be used extensively, which is the ratio of width to length to perimeter. That is say 1:3:8. If you find out the ratio between one angula to mushti to pada, that is 1:3:8. And similarly from pada to hasta to vyam, that is again 1:3:8. So only in certain cases we find that the ratio of 1:6 or 1:7 to be used within building plan, particularly not settlement plan but building plan, and that is when say particularly in case of designing of stables where such linearity can be there. However, the linearity, the use of the space is not forced by the direction of the building, because if we continue further 1:6 ratios of 1:6, 1:7, 1:8, then the you can say the shape or the form is almost linear. And but by function, if we find the utilization of this shape or this form, then they are not typically linear, because then such stables, the function is from the lateral side, from where it is no longer linear. So you can find out further divisions and utilization accordingly. Generally, length is to width ratio of more than 6:1 is not utilized because it is no longer very efficient. And efficiency is measured as related to the area that is covered by the by the perimeter. So if the length is to width ratio increases, then the efficiency decreases very much, and thereby the ratio is kept within 1:6. But generally, again, it is very good if we use say almost we should use squarish shapes, and if we then use the golden mean rectangle. So ideally, initially also the nominal width of a boundary wall was kept as 1 pad. So 1 pad is again equal to say 240 millimeter. Now, I think in this context, it would be good if we can, if I mention the dimension of the bricks that was used in Indus Valley civilization, and there I think the proportion was 1:2:4. That is 7 into 14 into 28 centimeter. So here we are using the scale of 20, so 1 is equal to 240 millimeter. There it was 280 millimeter, or in some cases, in case of designing of public buildings, it was the brick size was 10 into 20 into 40 centimeter. So moving ahead, we come to the Brahma Mandala, or the squarish shape, which has been used most extensively in Vastu, particularly in Sthapatya Vastu. So within the Brahma Mandala, so we start with a Shakal Mandala. Shakal Mandala means which can be used at everywhere where it can be, you can find it as a single cell, utilize it as a single cell, or you can further divide and subdivide and use at the various scales of settlement or various hierarchy of use. So in here, there are the prime two directions or axes that are used is number one, the north and south axis, which is known as the sutra. The axis is known as the sutra or Yam Sutra, and the Brahma Sutra, which is the east-west axis. So whenever the Yama Sutra and the Brahma Sutra, whenever they intersect, we get the Nabhi or the Brahmasthan or a Brahmasthal. From there, from the Brahmasthal, if we draw a circle, that will be then the circle including all which will be containing the square, or which will be inscribed within the square area of the Brahma Mandal, we get the Naga Sutra. So it is, the circle, it's almost like Nag Sutra, as in say, we find that a serpent which is touching its own tail. Again, the symbolism can be explained in, of course, a much better way by Professor Joy Shin. But so there are a lot of, the interpretation can be philosophical, but the interpretation can be cosmological also, because mandala is basically the representation of cosmos in its macro level, and when we are applying it for human habitation, we are utilizing it at the meso level or the micro level. So this explanation has been given very beautifully by Professor Shane in the previous lectures. Now there are a lot of other calculations or aspects of Vastu Vidya, which however cannot be explained in details, because we are again at the we're beginning the class, we're beginning the scope of discussions. So we can explore this further in later classes. If there is time, we will explore that. So now we are again delving into the different cells or divisions of the Shakal Mandala to find out the different patterns of development that can be that can cater to the different needs of settlement styles. So we have mentioned in the previous slide that Vastu Vidya can be utilized for planning of habitation at different scales, from gram to nagar. Gram is the village and nagar is the town. So within that also there are several types of spatial usage that can be defined by the unit or the type of mandala that is used. So Shakal Mandala is the, you can say, unit, one cell, which from this Shakal Mandala, if we get the Pitha Mandala, which is a 2x2 mandala or 3x3 mandala, these are typically used for seating or as seats. So now the term peeth is again, it can be used as a sthal or as a throne. So we have the usage as these are, Shakti peeth. So that was where the, this is the placement or the primer where the deity this rules as such. So we have specific sthan related to specific gods and goddesses, and of course this is again explanation in a very literal meaning, but within this very literal meaning there is also underlying explanation, a philosophical connection. So we can explore that further, and Professor Sen of course will be taking that up. So from say a very small or say 2x2 matrix or simple matrix of or mandala, we are moving on to higher scales. As we are moving to the higher scales or the higher divisions, we can find that they can be used to cater to other complicated, or we can say complex type of habitations or habitats. So from say the largest seating area where the mandali can sit and discuss, we are coming to the mandapa or the prasad or prashad. So from 7 into 7 matrix to 11 into 11 matrix. So this can again be used to house a small hamlet or a small village where the Brahmasthan, the central part, is where we are placing the deity. From there again we are coming to the placement of the temple complexes, to the different placements of finally towns and cities. They're having large mandalas having 32 by 32 cells. So the division is, we can plan from a small hamlet to another, and here Durga is different types of military settlements. So we get the Durga, we also have Shibir, and we have Skandavar. So you must have heard about these two terms. Shibir you have heard, Skandavar also you must have heard if you have read, say, literature. So we have gone through literature of your areas. So in there, so the Brahmasthan has a unique significance. So the Brahmasthan is the most sacred sthan, and within the Brahmasthan also there are other terms such as placement or the intersection of, say, the corner sutras or the Karna sutras. If you follow the division of each quarter of the square of the Brahma Mandala, if you go on further subdivisions of the quarters of the mandala, and if you find out the intersections of the Karna Sutra, then you obtain the Marmasthan. So Brahmasthan, which is an intersection space, as well as Marmasthan, which are further intersection points at lesser hierarchy. So these are the points which should not be blocked ideally, or which should not be having any structure created at that point. So we will be getting back to these treaties again in the later slides. So we come to the Vastu Purush Mandala. The Vastu Purush Mandala is nothing but, if you actually consider that a Vastu Purush is a formless being. So the Vastu Purush was contained within the four walls of a square to form a Kshetra, or you can say a planar field. So when we get a plot, the first point of how should we start to create space out of nothingness, because that is again nothingness. We're starting with a formless space to actually creation of form within that space. So giving a face or a form to a formless space. And that starts with the Vastu Purush Mandala. So we start with first defining the boundary or the perimeter of the space. And by defining the boundary, we sanctify, we provide make the place sacred. After defining the boundary, then we divide it into cells or zones. And these zones are having, each cell is having its own energy. This energy is in relation to the slope of the site and more importantly to the orientation of the site. So if you follow the previous slide, then the Brahma Mandala had two primary axes. The north and south axis, which was the Yama Sutra, and the east and west axis, that was the Brahma Sutra. So you can say it is each cell has its own combination of light and darkness, as well as own combination of wetness and dryness. And thereby each, based on orientation, each cell is having certain qualities. Based on the specific geography related with geography, we find the explanation of the Vastu Purush Mandala. From this explanation, further, other qualities were given or were, put as additional layers over this primary grid. So the central part, say this is a 9 by 9 mandala, Brahma Mandala. With the central part of the 9 cells is the Brahma Mandala. So immediately after the Brahma Mandala, we get the 2 layers of the 12 Adityas. So followed by the periphery 32 cells of or nakshatra, which is related to the position of constellations. So the Brahmastan is the most central region, and you can almost find it, that is the Nabhi, or where the origin. So life originates from this point, followed by a region of good light or positive energy by the 12 Adityas, then further followed by the nakshatra, which are again ruled by the Lokpal or the primary 4 directions, and as well as the 4 corner directions. So in total 8 directions. So these 8 directions accordingly. So the northeast direction is the Ishan cone, the southeast direction is the Agni cone, the southwest direction is the Nirithya cone, and the and the northwest direction is the Vayu. Along with these basic divisions, the utilization of mandala also differs based on the scale of the habitat. Suppose if we are considering this mandala for designing a single building, then the central place is the most sacred space, and it can have, in case of a temple, you can locate the religious or you can say the contemplative space is ideally located at this position, followed by the space or immediate spaces where you can provide other usages. This is for a single building. Now, as we move up the scale of usage, we find that gradually the scale of interaction changes. So immediately beyond the position of the Aditya, we find the position of the Nakshatra Mandala, and further beyond the Nakshatra Mandala, however, is the expanse, the huge expanse of space, which is unknown, and thereby in some cases this region is said to be dominated by or denoted by demons. representing the unknown. And we obviously have a fear, deep-seated fear of the unknown. So this is, you can say, the boundary or the perimeter of the Brahma Mandala forms our conscious as well as our known scale. From beyond that is the space which is the unknown. And you can find there is also the similarity between the scales of the space that we use. So this is again depending on the proximity, or proxemics theory is there. So proxemics theory again has certain divisions of space. For example, your absolutely intimate space, which is say within 3 feet. So if you form a from the center, from your head, if you follow, if you create a circle in the ground, then if any person steps within the space, that is basically your intimate space, we get very disturbed. Only people with whom we are comfortable, only they can be allowed into this intimate space. Beyond this intimate space, we have a next familiar space where we are able to interact. So such spatial boundary is also has a also includes the factor of sound. For example, immediately after the intimate space, we have the space where we can interact. So if a person is suppose seated or located at a almost at a distance of say 8 feet, you will find you have difficulty in conversing. In order to have good conversation, we can have the space is say between 6 feet to 8 feet, beyond which again we lose the conversation of say at a familiar scale. We can have a conversation at a group scale, or we can interact in a group at immediately the outer scale, which is say in this case the scale of the nakshatra. So from there again the other scale is that you can identify a face, you can identify the emotions on a face till a distance of 80 feet, beyond which you cannot decipher the expressions. So this is again a dimension which is utilized while we are planning say theatres. So beyond the distance of 80 feet, we lose the connection between an individual. All that stands out is the enclosed space or say the surrounding area. You can identify whether a person, you can identify a person at a further distance of say 450 feet, beyond which you cannot make out the details of the person. So you can identify the person till say 450 feet, but not beyond that. And at a scale of about 2000 feet, you can only identify the, whether it's a person or say an animal, till that point of division is possible. Beyond which again, you can only visualize them as dots moving in spaces. So that is the scale, that is the scale as explained in, or as utilized in while designing of urban squares and urban plazas. And you can find the allegory as has been given in the Vastu Purush Mandala. So we can delve further into it, into the application of the Vastu Purush Mandala while related to actual planning of habitations, or which space should be located in which direction. But we will be doing that in the later classes. So that would be all from my side for today's class. If you have some questions, you can ask them now. Okay, if you have some queries, you can ask them now, or it is over to you, Professor Sen.
Yeah, I think this was wonderfully taking Professor Banerjee, because you kept the whole complex discussion so simple and so clear and lucid with regards to the texts, the visuals, the diagrams, and what you call the ideograms, which are very important, in Indian architectural grammar, shape grammar, and things like that. So I think it's almost an end of the day. We are closing on 7 o'clock, and I'm sure different students are from different background. They had a long day, right from 8 o'clock. They're having classes. So what I'll do, so if you can unshare and if you can allow me to share my PowerPoint, and if you can allow me to share my PowerPoint, because I've updated it a little bit. And
yes, sir.
If you can allow me to share, because now, yeah, okay, great. Just a sec. Okay, great. So tell me whether it's visible or not.
Yes, Professor Sen, it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible. So let me move on to the full slide. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I'll just keep it within 10 to 15 minutes. So this is about the assignment, which will be individual. It will be an individual assignment. That means every student is individually expected to give this text document based on a sample, which we are going to show you in the next 10 to 15 minutes. The work starts from tomorrow, and it'll go till about the 1st of October, and it'll be almost done by the 8th of October, which will be pre-Puja, the Durga Puja holidays. And a Google Drive will be created where all the documents will be submitted in the text form, in an edited text form, along with a PDF. Why a PDF? Because if you PDF it, we'll know exactly what your compositions are. And if you give us the text, then we can edit it based on our suitable requirements and imperative. So you know that one of the main onus or the goal of this 400 plus assignments coming from all of you is to make a compendium of the thoughts coming from young stars, budding second years, third years, master students, and research scholars who are enlisted in this class. And then after that, after the Durga Puja, we'll have a 3-slide presentation. Probably we'll have one extra class where everybody will present for 2 minutes. Just show the 2 slides, 2 to 3 minutes, and we can discuss. Or we may do it this way. We can choose a few which are excellent, and we can ask the students. So there'll be a little bit of a comparison between the works which are very good. We are sure, I am very sure some of the submissions will be all the submissions will be very good, and some among them will reach the level of excellence. So I think we'll have some criteria to apportion and aggregate the presentations, but that's later. So it starts from tomorrow, and we have to complete the submission prior to the Durga Puja holiday. I think Durga Puja starts from the 10th or the 11th of October. So and now everything is a holiday, but we take that as a very auspicious time, and the submission is just before that. So there'll be a creation of a Google Drive, and there'll be uploading, and there'll be confirmation of all the submission based on the attendance list or the roll call list that we have. So we have some teaching assistants, and we'll also slog it out, and we'll make sure that so your marks and your grades, which is also statutory, will be based on your presence, and just not your presence, but on your good submission, and just not your good submission, but on your excellent level of submission. So what exactly is this submission about? I have the next 7 or 8 slides. So let's have a look at it. I'm moving on to the first page of your assignment. Is it visible? Acquaintance page and theme. Is it visible to all of you? Hello, class.
Yes,
Need
sir.
to,
It is
yeah,
visible.
need to hear from some of you. So your acquaintance page will be something like this. So we are going to send this PowerPoint to all of you, via the ERP email. So we'll attach it. So Professor Banerjee will do this so that they have a sample. We'll do it. I'll send it to you, and you can send it, via the mail which goes to each and every student. So on the left hand side, it will be your name. For example, if I'm doing this assignment, is Joyson. The roll number for, in my case, it's an employment code, and there has to be a visual pic of your Atma Parichaya, your visual pic, and your placement. Like you're a student of biotechnology, 4th year, or you're a postgraduate scholar of metallurgical engineering. So that has to be placed there. In the second box that you see two domains. So for example, Joyson is working on a traditional domain, which is the icon of swastika. So that comes from the past and the immediate past. And he's also working on the contemporary domain, on the ideas of cyclic renewals, ideas of rotation, ideas of revolution, ideas of different options and iterations and recursions and sustainability. So when I do a little bit of research, which will be my next slide, I find out there's some keywords like patterns of sustainability, Shastayan, Swastika, Sustan, sustain, and sustainability. They come from the same language group. The pattern behind patterns, and maybe I'm interested in the Carnot cycle, the thermodynamic cycles. I'm also interested in the electrical, inductance, conductance, iterations in the system. So that will be my second domain. And then I should have a key statement. I should have one statement. I should have one sentence to explain my thought principle, which is the 7 to 8 page of submission. For example, I'm working on the complementarities, the connections, the overlaps, or the exchanges of ideas between the ancient constructs of rotation and revolution of cosmic and ecosystem changes, as evident in the Vedic sutras, and compared that with the modern principles of iteration, recursion, and sustainability that we have in ecological, environmental, and climate sciences. So that's my key statement. So everything is around that single statement. So this is my acquaintance page and the theme. So if you have any question on this first page of your assignment, kindly ask me now. Then I'll move on to the next page. If you have any question on this first page. So this is,
sir,
yeah.
Sir,
Yes.
you said about the domain, like domain will be department specific, or?
Yeah. I'll always suggest that you sort of express your background. What department are you? Yeah.
Mathematics, sir.
Yeah. So have something from mathematics. So find out an area of ancient mathematics and find out an area of modern mathematics, and see if you can relate that with what we are teaching here. That we should not force it, but we'll always suggest that your domain knowledge is not neglected in this class. It is registered, it is documented, and it is respected. And
sir,
yes,
sir, as you said, like the two techniques, like the ancient and the present, should be overlap.
right.
Like there
Right.
can be a significant progress through that. Like this can be the base. The ancient can be the base.
Yeah, the ancient can be the one wall. Every wall has, every room has 2 walls or 4 walls. You have a southern wall and a northern wall. The southern wall is a winter wall and the northern wall is a summer wall. So the southern wall is a traditional domain and the northern wall is a contemporary domain. It's like a mirror. Do you remember that you sit in a barber shop and there is a mirror in front of you?
Yes, sir.
And there is also a mirror in the back of you.
Back.
So what happens? Can you tell me?
The front mirror, like we can check, and the back mirror we can see, like, the back part.
Yeah, there's something which is more interesting that happens.
So too many
It's
images.
sort of recursion. Okay.
Yeah, too many images which mathematically approaches. Infinity.
Infinity. Yeah.
So you have one mirror on the left hand side and you have one mirror on the right hand side. So the reflections are in infinite time within infinite space. Infinite images are projected. So this is mathematics. of infinity, and the symbol of infinity is exactly that. It's like a flattened 8 in the horizontal axis. If you collapse an 8, the figure of 8, it becomes a symbol of infinity, which means the infinity is only produced where you have duality. You cannot have infinity with a single object. Infinity always gets expressed when you have left and the right. Infinity is always revealed when you have darkness and light. Infinity is always expressed when you have tradition and modernity. Infinity is always realized when you have the better and the lesser. Infinity is always in vogue when you have the rich people mixing with the poor people, you know. So infinity is in Islamic architecture is called the Shish Mahalam. You know, if you go to Agra Fort and Delhi Fort, in any Sufi poetry and all that, I think a few people in the class will know this. They call it Shish Mahalam. Shish, you know, Arshi Nagar. Arshi means mirror. So that means they're infinite reflections of a single identity. So suppose Joyson has gone to a barber shop and he's cutting hair, and then Joyson sees infinite reflections in front of him, and the man who is cutting the hair also sees infinite reflections on the back mirror. But there's only one person who is cutting the hair. But because of two mirrors, infinity is produced, you know. So this is a mathematical concept, which is also an architectural concept. So you see that. So you have to think a little bit, and you have to come out with a wonderful combination. You know, that's what this assignment is all about. You have to come out with a beautiful combination of one pickup, you know, one Swiggy from the ancient world and one Zomato from the modern world. Do you get me? You know, yeah, one Flipkart from the ancient world and one Amazon from the modern world. And you have to combine the two logistic services to produce your next 7 pages. Any other questions? That was a great question. Any other questions?
So if my research domain and current departments are different, then
Yes.
can I make it on whatever I am doing currently research?
Yeah, you can. You can even combine something from your research domain and your other thing that you're saying. Okay. If there is some relationship. If they're not, you can even suppose a person from electrical sciences can actually work on computational sciences. You know, computational sciences and electrical sciences are not the same, but they share that one common factor, which is electricity. You know, which is the transfer of information. Electrons through where full communication, which is like silica and other stores information. So now that's the oldest system, which is transistor. And today we have wireless communication, where you don't need transistors. You just pass information through Ethernet, you know, through wireless communication. That's WWW, World Wide Web. So the common overlap between all electrical sciences and computational sciences is communication sciences. You know, communication sciences. You know, we are relaying information, so you can actually work on information sciences. What is your area, and what is that area you are working on right now? Who is this, by the way?
It's a Sparsh.
The Sparsh. So what is your mother department?
My mother department is electrical engineering.
Wonderful. And what are you working on right now?
I'm currently working on neuroscience and quantum technologies.
Fantastic. You are Albert Einstein. Sparsh. So that means your background is electrical sciences, but you're working on neural networking and neurological networking. And you all know that the transfer of information, even within the human body, is based on electricity. Brain sends electrical signals. The heart sends cardiovascular signals, which are electrical pulses. Our entire body is actually an electrical field. It's shown in those movies, Matrix and others. So you can work on a very interesting area. And here is a chance for you to present a crazy idea. You don't have to present a very, very orthodox, very rigid, something, a copybook kind of a thing. You can imagine, you can expand, you can be very wild. And this is a class where you can extend your, and who knows, there could be 10 people in this class in whose writings, submissions in October 2021, they could be the seeds of a future Nobel Prize. You just don't know. I mean, it is quite possible. So I expect Akhidi and I Professor Banerjee, Professor Bhattacharya and others, we expect a wonderful submission from you. So you got it, Sparsh? Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
you can find out fantastic connections of information transfer, which is electrical bits, qubits, which is quantum bits, which was first initiated by Professor Richard Feynman, Feynman's quantum electrodynamics, QED, I'm sure you know it, I'm sure. Sparsh.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah. So the whole world of neural sciences has changed with Professor Richard Feynman, He sat on that same seat where Professor Albert Einstein used to sit. Let's have another question. These are fantastic pointers. Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so I think it's quite clear. So this discussion.
So I have one question regarding.
Yeah, who is this? Who is this?
This is Amber.
Amber. So Amber, let's hear your question. Please go ahead.
So when we were discussing about the Saraswati River, so I was.
So Saraswati River, I'll come later. First, let us complete this because then we'll digress. But you can work on the Saraswati River under this theme.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Amber. Hello, Amber.
No, it's not Amber, sir.
So please go on.
Yeah, so Amber, this I'm telling you, you can use Saraswati River, what Professor Ankhi Banerjee taught today. You can work on the Saraswati River. So there is a Saraswati River which is internal.
No, sir.
Hello.
No, sir. I was wondering about two things basically. So okay.
Is it related to this assignment or you have another question?
Okay, yes, sir. I was thinking of to choose one topic. So I will ask later. Don't worry.
No, you can ask if it's related to this assignment. Then I'll answer it now. Otherwise, I'll try and answer it later. Otherwise we'll digress and divert. Please don't mind. Amber, please don't mind. Okay.
So I was wondering if the basin was somehow related to the Port Lothal, because like it would have worked as a we know for a fact that there was a huge trade between the Port Lothal in Gujarat with the ancient Greece.
Indus Valley civilization had trade with Mesopotamian civilization.
Mesopotamia and Egypt also.
And there are some seals of Indus Valley which has been discovered in Crete, Mediterranean Sea, 3000 BC.
So I was wondering if the basin was incorrectly shown in the figure which you have shown. Rather.
No, the basin is of various kinds because there is one theory by Professor Dr. A.S. Bishit, who was one of the students of legendary Professor Vishveshwaraya. He and his team in the last 25 years has discovered the archaeology undersea in the Gulf of Cambay, which is Bet Dwarka and all that. And somehow the southern tip of Indus Valley is actually the mythical town of Dwarka, which is Gujarat and Bhrigukacha. You know Bhrigukacha, which is the mouth of Narmada.
Yes,
mouth
sir.
of Narmada. So from the mouth of Narmada to Somnath, Dwarka, it is one stretch of maritime ports. And this particular place today is known as Bargaiza. Bhrigu Karza in the Greek language was known as Bargaiza. Bargyza. So you can Google this. There's a Wikipedia and you can know much more. So the Greeks used to trade with India at least 1,000 years prior to the birth of Christ. It could be even older because Pythagoras is believed to have come to India to learn the ideas from Bodhana's Sulva Sutras, which was converted to the concept of a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. The Greek author Apuleius, Apuleius, has recorded this in the Greek version of the Chronicle. Pythagoras, and that's why there is a strong similarity between Greek alphabets and South Indian alphabets like Tamil. For example, the alphabets of pi and epsilon, they're also found in Tamil. You must, if you have Tamil friends or if you are yourself a Tamil, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Yeah. Okay. Any other question?
Sir.
Who is this?
Sir, Shiva.
Shiva. Yeah.
Yes. So, sir, basically we have to make a presentation on anything.
Presentation is later. First is text submission in Google Drive.
Okay, sir. So that text submission we have to basically, so on anything which has its history and its modern
aspect.
Yes, sir.
But not everything, not everything under the sun, on a very specific theme. On a very specific, like for example, this theme is on the icon of swastika. Is the swastika a rotation of space? Is the swastika a revolution over time? Is the swastika an iteration of the change of seasons? Is the swastika a recursion of moving from one to the other and coming back to the one again, like a mirror, you know, like that example of the haircut salon, which I just told you? Is the swastika talking about change that is sustained over time? Is the swastika the principle of cycles and change? Is it a pattern of sustainability, or is it a master pattern behind patterns? Is the swastika comparable to the Carnot cycle, you know, of two adiabatics and two isothermals, which operates inside a fridge and outside between the earth and the sun? The same relationship which the compressor holds with the fridge inside a fridge, the earth holds the same relationship with the sun, with the movement of the sun, you know. And a similar thing also happens in the iteration of the inductance and the conductance. You know, if you remember your Resnick-Halliday book, everybody in this class has read Resnick-Halliday, Basic Physics. Hello.
Yes,
hello.
sir.
Yeah. So you have seen the comparison between an 8-stage potential energy, kinetic energy revolution and an 8-stage thermodynamic cycle, or a 4-stage and a 8-stage spring equation, or a electrical iteration between conductance and inductance. So I think you remember that from your basic physics class first year, or from your 11 and 12. I'm sure you're getting me what I'm talking about. Okay. So this is what this is an idea. So you're crazy about this comparison, fine, but you're basically talking about iterations and changes. What Professor Banerjee talked about, the mandala. The mandala is actually a certain kind of a swastika. You know, yeah, a certain mandala is a swastika. There are other mandalas like Sarvatovadra and different kinds, you know, Kurma Mukha, you know, so on and so on, you know. Okay. We will take up one more question and then we should move on to the next slide. One more question is there? So no question. Let's move on. So this is actually a text submission of about 5 to 7 pages. I'll show you an example so you can download that example from the net and you can look at it for yourself. So the next page is a continuation of the beginning. So this is a small research. This is a micro research. So you have to find out that what is the purpose of this research. So you have to explain in the first page why you are interested in this synthesis of something ancient and something modern. What are the features that you're going to use? For example, when I'm doing this thing on the swastika, I'll focus on changes through rotation. You know, look at the middle of the slide. Everybody can see the slide? Hello? Everybody can see the slide? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir,
I'll
we
be
can say that.
focusing on dynamics. Through revolution. You know what is dynamics? Anybody can explain the word dynamics? What do you mean by dynamics?
Change with time.
Change over time or change with time. Absolutely. Who is this?
Mitali.
Mitali. Yeah. Let's give a big hand to Mitali. Yeah, a big hand. Great. Change over time. That's called dynamics. And when the change is a constant, there is no change. It's called statics. So in Sanskrit, this is called sthiti, statics, and dahana. That means something is burning on fire, dynamics. So sthiti and dahana, statics and dynamics. I can look at options through iterations, you know, mirror based on recursions, you know. So I can look at changes and constant, you know, and then I look at the principles of iteration, you know, which is the swastika, the mandala, you know, man is the measure of all things. This is something which Professor Ankhi Banerjee was talking about to you today in a beautiful way. She gave the Vitruvian, the Indian connection in between Samkhya philosophy of India and the ideas portrayed by from Protagoras to Vitruvius. So there has to be a good explanation of why you are interested in this synthesis. There has to be a strong argument. I mean, you don't have to write a PhD thesis. It's just a synopsis of about 7 pages, so that one day this 7 pages can be expanded into a 700-page book with detailed research. So this is almost like a book proposal. You may say that this is almost like a book proposal or a monograph proposal or a theme proposal. Okay, is it all fine? Is it all fine with you? Now I give you an example. So this is a sample introduction from this, and I just want to copy this. I just want to copy this. So all of you can actually go to the web and you download this document. Please download this document. So can you see it in the chat box? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so please download this document and go to the last section of this document. This is a work which was done by 4 IITs and 6 NITs about 5 years back under the Science and Heritage Initiative. So go to page 278 onwards. You will find a 7 to 8 page document on the swastika. So this is written by students like you. Students like you. So the beginning is an introduction.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, there is nothing in chat box.
There's nothing in chat box.
There is, sir.
Yeah, there's nothing in chat box.
No, sir, we can see.
Okay, maybe so I think I'm typing it again. So I think it's a problem at someone's end. You know, it's I think a meeting problem. It's I think a meeting problem. Okay. So please send it to your friends, or we'll put. So this is Sandhi Swastika publication 216. You can see it from the slide. Why don't you take a screenshot immediately? Take a print screenshot. Please take a print screenshot of this slide. Please take a print screenshot of this slide and download it from the net. It's available there, and go to page 278 and the next 10 pages. So this is like your first page, introduction, retrospect, and the swastika. Then you move on to summary of case studies. So there you say that you're going to work on 9 different areas or 5 different areas or at least 2 different areas, and then you may have some quotations. So here is a quotation by Pierre-Simon Laplace, a great French mathematician, and the other quotation is by Swami Vivekananda from the sages of India. So you're comparing a yogi philosopher of India with a scientist mathematician of France. So have 2 wonderful quotations, and then have the summary. So go download this matter and have a look at it. Don't do this assignment without having a look at this example. So this is a second page, the summary of cases. Then let's move on. Then it goes on to the elaboration.
Sir?
Yes. Hello.
So can you show the first page again? I didn't take the screenshot.
Okay. Which page? Okay, this page.
So first page.
Please get the screenshot. Everyone else, please get the screenshot. 5 seconds. Please get the screenshot. So this is the first page. This is just a sample. You don't have to copy this. This is to give you exactly what we are wishing to get from you. Yeah, something like this. I am repeating, something not like this, not exactly like this, something like this. Because if I show you something, then you know what exactly is in our mind. And then you will be also to formulate what is exactly in your mind. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. This is, imagine some quotations and how you start the different explorations, maybe 9 different examples. And then you move on to an explanation of the patterns behind patterns. This is specifically for swastika. These are like the middle pages, like page number 5 and 6. And then I move on to some conclusions like principles of sustainability through swastika, semantics or direction based on the ideogram of swastika, and some ancient wisdom revisited. And then I present the ancient wisdom. So this is the page of ancient wisdom, where I see the swastika as a cross, where I see the swastika as a footprint of the Sachi Stupa, where I see the swastika as a cross plan of the Taj Mahal, where I see the swastika in the Indus Valley Sill, where I see the swastika in the Mesopotamian Sill, where I see the swastika in a Tibetan seal. So all this is ancient world. So I have all the references along with this description. So this should be a tightly edited, clear document, and this will be evaluated very seriously. So put your mind, put your heart, put your soul into this assignment. Don't take it lightly. Please don't take it lightly. Make a grade, and this will be evaluated, and this is the foundation of your mid-sems marks. This is, I'm repeating, this is an individual assignment, so nobody can do the assignment for the other person. Every person will be checked on the Google Drive, and there'll be a Google Excel sheet where you have to log in and check your name, that you have registered and you have checked your name. Do we have any TAs today? Any seniors today in this class? Hello? Any research scholars?
Yes, sir.
Who is there?
So Vriddhi.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Vriddhi. So Vriddhi, we have to form this Google Drive and this Excel sheet where students will enter and log in. So there's a registration. So please let us discuss and let's create this Google Drive as soon as possible so that we can send the link along with the attendance thing. And please involve Professor Ankhi Banerjee to create this within the next 2-3 days. We have to act very fast. We cannot procrastinate. We have to act very fast. And the Google Drive along with the Google Excel sheet must reach all the students by this weekend, so that they form their topic before the next class next week, and they register and they give their attendance roll call in their Google Excel sheet. So as I was telling you, this is a glimpse of the ancient page. The next page is almost the last page, and this is a page of modern science. And here you can see modern architecture, swastika of the spiral galaxy. This is Auroville. Here you can see the swastika moving like a torque, a double torque, which is physics, the Carnot cycle. And here you can see the swastika moving like the 4 stages of the mass spring equation, iteration of potential energy to kinetic energy, and from kinetic energy back to potential energy. The same thing between inductance and conductance. That means the restriction of the flow of electricity to the allowance of the flow of electricity. So that means here the entire presentation ends. And so these are like about 7 to 8 pages. So this is exactly what your submission should look like. So in addition to this 8 page, you must have this page, the acquaintance page. So this is the first page. And then you can follow this sample for this other 7 or 8 or 9 pages. Okay. And then finally you come to the last page. This is your last page where you give all the references systematically. All websites must be mentioned here. All books that you have referred must be mentioned here. All good wikis or Wikipedias that you have referred must be mentioned here. And all references which you have found through networks must be referred here. And if you have found some collateral references, like there is a journal which has been referred by a physics journal, at the same time it is also repeated in some science or religion journal. So these are called collateral references. You can group them in a separate way. If you don't have them, it is fine. But basically you must have all the key references, the websites, the books, the wikis, and the network reference. So this is the foundation of the whole assignment. As I told you, the time starts from tomorrow morning, and you have the next 5 weeks. 5 weeks is a good time. 5 weeks is about it's about 5 into 7, 35 days. So that 35 days is a lot of time. So I think the 5 days you spend on formulating the topic, and you register in the Google Sheet, and the next 15 days you complete the text form, and the next 5 days you edit it, and the next 5 days you read it, correct all your English grammar, typology, and have a look at it, and then you should submit before October 8th. The Google Drive will be closed. Briddhi, are you here? Briddhi? Yeah.
Yes, sir, I'm there.
Yeah. So the Google Drive will be closed on October 8th. Yeah. After that, there is no submission. After that, there is no submission.
Okay.
And the presentation will be after Durga Puja. That will be a special class. And that will be a 3-slide. Your acquaintance page, a summary statement, and your references. A 3-slide presentation. That will be after Durga Puja. Okay. So I think we'll discuss this again and again. With this, I come to the end of the presentation. And I think this was quite okay. So one of the most important thing is to download this last page 278 to about page 289. So from page 278 to page 289 of this publication. Please do it tonight and look at this portion. Study it, get inspired, find out an area of your from your broad domain, find out an ancient aspect, find out a modern aspect, see the similarities and dissimilarities, see the convergences and the divergences, see where they meet and see where they don't meet, create an argument, convert the argument into a text, add visuals, put your references, complete the 8-page assignment, and have this first page, which is the acquaintance page. This is the first page. This is the first page, the acquaintance page. And please have the last page, the reference page. So this is the entire assignment. So 1 + 8 + 1, about 10 pages, about 10 pages of assignment, roughly 10 to 11 pages of assignment. I think it is very simple and it's very clear. And once you download it, and so Vriddhi, I'll send this PowerPoint to all of them very soon, as a reference. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I'll send it. Yeah. And they can take screenshots if they wish. I can play the PowerPoint once more. So please take a screenshot of this acquaintance page and theme. This is the first page. This is the first page. Yeah. And please take a screenshot of the last page. This is the reference page. This is the reference page. I am doing it again for your good. Please don't tell us that you missed it. Please take the print screen image of the first page, acquaintance page and theme. I'm giving you 6 seconds. Save it. Done? Okay. Please take a print screenshot of the last page. I'm giving you 6 seconds. Save it. The people who are not present here today, they have missed it. Share it with them. It is their responsibility. The people who have not attended today's class for any reason. Okay. But I see about close to 200 students today. So there are about another group of students who have not. So they should know what important we have discussed today. Yeah. So please relate to your friends who are in this class and they are not here. Because if they are not here, I mean, they cannot understand anything about this class if they are not attending. Like today, we have discussed a very important thing which Professor Banerjee has explained. So Professor Banerjee, are you around or you have taken a break?
No, I'm here, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I think Professor Banerjee, this is quite clear. This is very clear. This is very clear. So this is the first page, and I think this is not bad. This may not be an excellent presentation, but I think it has all the structure. It has a sample. So it is not that you don't know what to do. So you have a sample.
It is clear to the students what is expected. And
yeah, what is yes. Yes, please go on. Please go on. Yeah.
So Professor Sen, I was thinking that we can include in Google Drive, but there is also a scope for including the assignment within the themes part, where you can provide.
Yeah, you can do that, but keep it simple.
Yes.
Keep it simple. Yeah. Keep it in such a way that it is simple and it's accessible, and I get an access to all the documents as soon as possible, because I have to sit with this with Professor Desai very soon, because in another 6 months we'll be converting it into a book.
Yes.
And we are already talking with Tata McGraw-Hill and Springer and others. So this is a very serious assignment. This is how we did the swastika assignment, a book which has reached the different corners of the world today. So these are brilliant students of IIT Kharagpur. So Akhidi, you are free to do anything, but keep it in such a way that the logistics and the extraction process is simple. There's no complication.
So that will be like, because in here we can see the assignment when the students are submitting.
We need a Google Excel for registration with their team name. And they
yes,
have to,
that can be done. And additionally, while they're submitting, they can submit either they can upload it directly to the Google Drive.
Yes.
And they can also submit it through.
Yeah, they can do both. Why don't they?
They can do both.
Both. Because I'll be accessing the Google Drives easier, and I'll just have a look at it. Yeah.
And our TAs also can.
Vidya, Shivangi, Murli, they'll all help us. Even you can involve Ritu and anyone who is interested in things like that. Don't force anyone. People who are interested. Yeah. Okay. So even Shreyash has agreed to be an editor of this assignment from.
That is great. That is
from
great.
Japan, and even one of my students from Canada has agreed to be an editor of this assignment. Yeah. So this is serious.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, this swastika is just an example, na sir?
Yeah, this is a sample. If you would have given me this assignment, I would have worked on the swastika. This is just a sample. And
so,
the
sir,
sample. Yes.
So, sir, we have to do just like we have to see a ancient scientific some model like thing, and then we should see the modern model, scientific model like thing. Then we have to link them with.
Yeah, you have to find out the analogy, the complementarity, a possible relationship between the two things. So there you have to be creative. There you have to be innovative.
But sir, there are many topics.
Yeah, find out 6 topics and work on only one.
Okay.
Find out 6 topics. See, you have 35 days. So the next 3 days you find out 10 topics. And by the 4th day you finalize one. Ekdam ek. Ek ka upar kam. Who is this, by the way?
Sir, Rupesh Kar.
Rupesh, this is a wonderful question. I think your question has helped the whole class. So the next 2-3 days you find out 10, 12, 20 topics. No harm, no problem. But then you finalize one topic by Sunday. Bas, khatam. Then you concentrate and meditate and ruminate and ponder and focus on this single topic. For example, can you see the GIF file on this reference slide? There's something moving. Can you see the movements?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is, yes, sir. Triangle and.
Yeah. So what is happening? So that means the movement of the line is actually the movement in cycles. The movement of the point is actually non-linear, but the line is actually moving in such a way. Actually, lines are moving. Yeah. But when lines are moving to each other, it is actually a cyclic movement. And while they're moving, they are forming planes. So this is actually the mandala which Akhidi was talking about today. So the mandala is actually a movement over time and space. Like Purva and Uttara. Purva means east and Purva also means the past. So it is space and time.
Professor Sen.
Yes.
Professor Sen, I will seek your leave at this point.
So, yeah, we are all leaving. Yeah, let me close. I think we have spent sufficient time. Yeah, good. I think everybody had taken a lot of screenshots. Great. So let us leave. Let us leave together. Yeah, because you are the master of today's ceremony. It's already 7:41. Chalo, let's call it a day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Vidya, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. What I'm telling you, this is my last statement. You will really enjoy doing this assignment. You can be creative. This is like Spring Fest. This is like Shitij. This is a Shitij assignment. This is a Kshitij assignment. Okay, great.
Sir, are you going to send this PPT, sir, or not?
Yeah, we'll send it soon, but I'm sure you have taken screenshots. We'll send
Yes,
it in
sir.
a
We
day or
have
two.
taken the first and last page.
And download the first and last page, and the rest is downloadable from the net.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Download this book and look at the last 12 pages. That is what I showed
Sir,
you today.
Sir, by the way, you can send it on Teams also, like if it is possible.
Yeah. I'm sending it to Akhidi. Akhidi, are you still here? No, Akhidi has left. Chalo.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So
we'll send it on
you
Teams.
can
We'll send it on Teams.
Yes, sir. That will be easy for us to download instantly, sir.
Okay.
So that we can work faster. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
sending it
Thank
to
you, sir.
Akhidi, and Akhidi will upload it on Teams. Yeah.
Sir, also can you stop the recording, please?
Okay, also the recording. Okay, so Briddhi, please note. Briddhi.
Yes, sir.
So why don't you pass the recording to any one of us, and why don't we YouTube it as fast as possible? Today's
So I'm
recording.
not sure if I have the.
So
I
Akhidi
will
has
have
the
the
recording.
with me.
Talk to Akhidi, converse
Yes,
with her. Get into discussions and communications with her.
Okay, sir. Sure.
Talk to her as soon as possible and get it on YouTube as soon as possible. Yeah. Involve Shivangi and Moli here. They know how to YouTube. If you know how to YouTube, it's very easy. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Call it IKS class, the first assignment. Okay, no?
Okay, sir.
IKS 2021, September 8th. Fine. Bye. Okay, chalo. Good night. See you. Bye.
Okay, sir.
Bye. Good night. Let's get excited. Hello. Great.
Sir, I think you only can stop the recording, sir. Like you are the
Stop the
presenter,
recording.
sir.
Stop the recording. Bye. Okay, I'm taking a leave. Bye.